jawline. Turn the engines up. About more. Step into the chamber where the neon never sleeps. Heartbeat, hammer like a cold beneath the deep. I feel the gear grind rising in my core. Every little spark keeps whispering more. Polished steel shimmer on my skin when I breathe. Honeycomb shadows bending unfurl like wings. I'm a signal in the dark, a pulse you can't ignore. Say it with your body when you move more. Touch the switch, let the voltage climb. Light me up in ultraviolet time. Every limit that I had before. Break it open, burn it out, give me more. I want more, more, more. Turn the world up louder than before. More, more. I want fire through the floor. Lift me higher, hit the core. Give me more. I want more, more. I want more, more, more. Every breath a spark I can't ignore. More, more. When the city starts to roar, I step in, I begin screaming more. Gold smoke rising where the dreams collide. A million stories humming in the hive tonight. Every open door feels built for the reborn. Take the future in your hands, come on, more, more, more. Ceramic heat shimmer on this runway of light. Cyber silk sliding through the gears of the night. If you feel the pull, then lean into the storm. Let your whole damn life evolve toward more. Touch the switch, let the voltage climb. Light me up in ultraviolet time. Every ceiling that we touched before. Break it open, burn it out, give me more. I want more, more, more. Turn the world up louder than before. Oh, I want fire through the floor. Lift me higher, hit the core. Give me more. I want more, more. I want more, more, more. Every breath a spark I can't ignore. Oh, oh. When the city starts to roar, I step in, I begin screaming more, more, more. More light, more heat, more pulse under my feet. More breath, more eyes, more truth in the mechanized skies. More heart, more flame, more power in the name. More life, more lore. I was born, I was made for more. I want more, more, more. Turn the world up louder than before. I want fire through the floor. Lift me higher, hit the core. Give me more. I want more, more, more. Every breath a spark I can't ignore. When the future kicks the door, I walk in, I ascend, screaming more.
Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to HiveWire. It is Friday. It is March 6th of 2026. I can hardly believe. I can see we had some numbers being thrown out. Yes, we're talking about the weather because it's steamy. It's steamy here in North Texas. It's steamy in North Carolina where Leslie is. And I know it's super cold and snow's covering the ground where Sharon is too. And if you're in the New York area in the East Coast, right, you still have all this snow. And down here, we're just like sweating. It is hot and steamy. I'm so disappointed, really, truly, that we only had about 1 week of winter. We went from summer to summer, basically. And gosh, man, that's just no fun most of the time, right? So welcome in, welcome in. I'm so glad to see you guys all here, and I'm really excited about today, because today I'm going to be talking about some things, creativity, right? And creatively, and what is art, and what is a movie? And we're going to be talking about some terms, okay? What a new term that I have created to replace the boring old term of thought leadership, right? That's boring in my world. So I have created something different for that. So if you guys are ready, I'm ready, and I'm just going to jump in, okay? So, like, there is a moment in every atelier's, every couture studio where the designer holds a single thread between their fingers, and they ask a question. Many times, if you're anything like me, sometimes it can be a dangerous question, right? What happens if we pull this, right? And have you ever done that on your own garment? Oh, there's a string, and you go to pull it, and it just unravels a whole section of what's holding that garment together. Sometimes, right, that can happen. Sometimes that thread can unravel an entire garment, and sometimes it can reveal how the garment was constructed. Sometimes it can reveal that the garment initially had like this different color thread, right? There's all kinds of different things that it can reveal. Today's episode, we're going to talk about what happened when I pulled the thread on what something meant. And it took me down this fascinating road. And so I just wanted to be able to share that with you guys today. Okay. But today's new term, I feel like I should be on Sesame Street, maybe. Today's new term is brought to you by the letter T, thought, right? And the letter C, couture. Thought couture. That's the new term for me in my world. That is going to replace the boring term thought leadership. Okay. But what is thought couture? Right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what thought leadership is and what thought couture is, right? So, thought leadership assumes that we can turn our ideas into products, right? Thought couture assumes and looks at ideas as garments. Some ideas are like fast fashion. They're copied, they're thin, they're disposable. They look a lot like the real thing, but maybe they don't necessarily have any real depth to them, right? Like you've seen them. The same frameworks recycled across thousands of posts, thought leadership posts, right? The same sentences rearranged, right? Like intellectual knockoffs sometimes is what we see and what happens with thought leadership. Because it's something being copied over and over and over and over again, right? But couture ideas are slightly different. I like to think that they're broadly different, but we'll just go with slightly. They are cut, right, from a lived experience. They are stitched with observation and care. They are lined with truth, and they are fitted to cultural moments, right? Different cultural moments that need them. They are not manufactured for scale. They're crafted for impact. And a couture idea, it doesn't just tell you something new, right? It changes how you see, how you understand, how you process, how you metabolize something, because ideas can alter perception, and those are constructed with very carefully chosen elements, right? So there's the fabric, which is the raw material of the insight. The story, which is the observation or the contradiction that just won't leave you alone, right? There's the cut, so that sharp angle that just slices through the noise. It says, this is what it is. And you're left going, ooh, wow, right? Because a cut is something that's sharp, it's angled, it is meant to stand out, and it does. It just kind of fractures the architecture of what it was that you thought that you believed that something was, right? Then there's that structure. So there's a spine, there's a skeleton, there's bone that'll allow the idea to hold itself together. And then there's the fit. And that's the moment that somebody's nervous system moves in some way. There's a recognition of something that it already knew, but it didn't know how to articulate, right? And finally, there's this signature. There's just this unmistakable voice of the creator. Is that different than thought leadership that you see most of the time? I know for me in my own world, it certainly is. So today we are going to take something that it could have been written by anyone, but if that's true, then it isn't couture, right? And without that signature, though, it's something that could be written by anyone, even if it has all those other elements. So today we're going to design a couture thought together. Okay. So the fabric begins with a single word, and that word today is movie. Okay. Most of us think that we understand what that word means, right? Just it's a film. It's a story that's projected on a screen, right? But language is a record, and there are fossil records even of what language is. Every single word contains fragments of how humans once understood the world. And if you pull that thread, sometimes you uncover just entire ways of seeing things that culture has simply forgotten, right? So the word movie comes from something older. It comes from a moving picture. And how couture also can mean just something that's just new. It's earth shattering. It stops you in your tracks, right? It's something that's like, wow. And could you imagine, like, maybe you can remember the first time that you saw a moving picture. Wow, right? Because it's already interesting, just that concept, moving picture. Because a film doesn't actually contain motion. A camera, right? It records still images. some cameras record like 24 photographs, we'll say a second, right? 24 photographs a second, right? That is so many in a minute. And then when you do that, we all know, right? There's this remarkable thing that happens. The human brain stitches those images together, and it actually creates the experience of movement. Okay. So the machine supplies the frames and the nervous system supplies the motion, which means, did you know? Do you know? Can you guess what that means? Right? If the machine is making the frames, what is the audience doing if they're supplying the motion? You're actually completing the film. Okay. Isn't that kind of wild? Cinema, as we know it, right, has always been a collaboration between technology and the human nervous system. We just rarely say that part out loud, right? And if we keep pulling that thread, the language gets really interesting, because the word move itself comes from the Latin word movere, to move, right? To stir, to set something in motion. And so from that same root, we get another word, emotion. And emotion literally means energy in motion. So when a film moves and your nervous system gets involved, right? It moves you emotionally. And that is not just poetic, right? Not just talking poetically. Your nervous system actually can shift state, which means maybe a movie isn't just something that we watch. Maybe it's really meant and designed to, I don't know, what do you think? Move us? Does it move us? It's very interesting, really, because it does so visually, emotionally, neurologically. It can pause you. Which is pretty incredible. In that 24 images every single second. That's a lot. That's a lot of movement. So I'm going to take a little break and come over to the comments and look at you. Yes, Sharon, I know that you would probably like some of that 80 degrees weather, right? And melt down some of the mounds of snow that you all have everywhere. Ooh, I like the word. Benjamin says you're a neologian by inventing new words and terms. I love that. That's a very fun word. And I do love creating words and terms and just experiences that are different and experimental, right? And so sometimes things like that work and sometimes they don't. So, but I do love that you all come every single week to be a part of that, to see if it works or it doesn't, right? Benjamin says the audience members are using their brains to process the visual and auditory elements of the movie to create one cohesive narrative of a cinematic story. Beautiful, right? The language can be so clear, right? That's another part of what a couture thought is, or thought couture is that it's been brought down into something that's super clear. It's been felt through, researched, looked at, examined, right? It's gone from the micro to the macro and back to be something that becomes very elegant and clear. It is a thought design, right? It's a data refinement, right? Something that's been brought into this beautiful shape that can be seen and felt and understood, because our human systems take anything and do that, right? They take it visually, they get your emotions involved. If you have synesthesia, you taste what you hear, right? You smell what you touch. Those different kinds of things can come through in your body, and it's really just quite amazing. Okay, so we were with the um, neurologically, emotionally, right, being moved by a movie. So if we stop there, we can step sideways into another word, because the thread continues, right? What's another word for movie? Cinema. And cinema is this beautiful, tasty word that comes from the Greek word kinesis, movement, right? So that same root gives us kinetic energy and kinesthesia, which is the body's sense of its own motion. Okay, its own emotion, right? So that matters because it's our own. When you put that together, cinematography, right, translates quite literally to something beautiful. It means writing movement with light. Oh, I think that is just so beautiful. You're writing movement with light. And that is one of the things that I love about art and color theory, and playing with the shadows and the light, is that there's so many different things that you can feel, that you can create, that comes to life, that can be seen, things that look like you could just reach out and touch them, but yet there's nothing there, right? Sometimes that can be a little disturbing. Just don't keep chairs in the corner of your room with clothes on it, okay? Right? Because then that movement with the light, or even the lack thereof, can cause interesting things to be seen, right? But let's carry on with writing movement with light. Because once you see that, once you hear and know, like, doesn't that just stop cinema being only about the recording of images, right? So much more than that. It becomes the shaping of motion itself. Motion, something that's in movement. It's in movement. It doesn't even stop, but you can make shape of it. The motion of attention, the motion of feeling, the motion of meaning. A filmmaker is essentially an architect of movement inside of the human nervous system. When the light changes, the perception shifts. When the emotion moves, some meaning can form. And in this is where the Couture cut appears, because we often use two words as if they mean the same thing. Okay. Creativity and art. We talk about both of those as if they are the same, but they might not be identical, right? Hello, Leah. Welcome in. Happy Friday. So good to see you. champion pose, right? We are the champions. I love it. That's what Leah says. Yeah, we are, right? We are the champions. If you guys have never done that, just do champion pose. It's so, well, moving, right? It's moving. It's art in motion. It's the art of you in motion. Okay. Creativity and art. Creative work rearranges materials. I froze and now I'm back. Okay. But art rearranges perception. Right. So creative work can be clever, but art alters how you see the world. Art is opening a door of expression to the world as the artist, that you're sharing some part of your self that's in the flow of the creation as you're creating it. And that is something that people can feel, they can see it. If it's with food, you can taste it, you can smell it, even with colors, like we were talking about synesthesia earlier. You can still smell it, you can taste it, you can see it, oh, you can hear it, right? Because color makes sound, like music. Maybe yellow is the laughter of your child, or maybe it reminds you of a flower, right? That's dancing, the daffodil out in your lawn in early spring. Like, all of those things are pieces of yourself that you put into something that you make as art. And you can see that as the observer, right? When you're looking at art, you can feel that. You can have your own experience of that. Because those two distinctions matter. We can do anything creatively, but not everything that we do creatively is art. How does that land for you guys, right? Does that make sense? Does that make you go, huh? Or is it something that settles, that you're like, oh no, that makes sense, I can understand that? I think the distinction matters because we live in an age that is overflowing with creativity, right? Especially for us as entrepreneurs, as creators, as those that create couture thoughts and think in couture, right? We see content everywhere. Ideas are everywhere. There is endless novelty and uniqueness, but novelty alone does not create art, because art is strange. Art is and can be peculiar. Art is something that stops you. It is something that moves you. I love that. Leah says, I make art with money. I love it. I love it. When it is you, it comes out in every area of your life. Absolutely. So, like, that's something that's a special thing that the creator brings to the art that they are creating, is that intent. It is the mistake that only you in that moment could have made that's infused, because anybody that knows anything about art knows that nothing quite like art will bring and show and expose your imperfections, quote unquote, right? So for me, a shaky hand, right? If you get down on this art on my face, you will see that. And I set with it. And a lot of times I want, and especially when I very first started, I would want to stop and start over because, oh, that didn't do what I wanted it to. It ruined my face. It ruined the whole idea that I had. But I sat with it. I sat with it. And then I began to see as it moved, or as another thought or idea would come, how to integrate that into what it was that I was doing, how to trust the process, that even though I was the receiver or the conduit that has an idea, and that I have this idea of what I want it to look like, that the journey to get there sometimes has, not sometimes, always, there's always this unexpected thing that happens. And when you're doing it in something that's permanent, you must adapt, right? You must adapt. You have to sit with it. You have to appreciate it. You have to see it in a different way if you saw it as a mistake at first, right? And that is something that brings, and every part of that is then infused into what it was that you're doing. And when you take a step back, art is always something that turns out looking as if it's perfect, and the only one that usually doesn't know if it was not is the artist. So part of the art also is just being able to say, I'm going to share it with the world anyway, right? And see that there is this bigger tapestry, and that every bit of that is what makes art art, and it's what makes it unique, and it's what makes it move you, because that's all infused into what it is that you're doing. Gotta come back over here and see what you guys are writing up. I saw Benjamin. Art obviously has a powerful effect on the human mind, because I've seen interviews in which actors mention that sometimes people won't shake their hands or even talk to them slowly because the actors played villains in movies, as if the people are conflating the actors with the villainous characters that the actors have portrayed in movies. Absolutely. You hear things like that all the time. Or they don't know what an actor's real name is. They only know them by the character, and that's what they call them by, and that's what they absolutely see them as, and call them by, and or, like you said, love or don't by the character that they have played. And that is a that is a phenom, right? Like, that happens. And it's quite extraordinary that that happens. And I think that the sad thing of that also that happens because of that is just that people, especially like actors and actresses and directors, and we put them, artists, right? Artists, or especially if they have this demonstration of some mastery of the art, like it's like they're placed on a pedestal, and that pedestal keeps everyday humans from interacting with them a lot of times, and that's kind of lonely if you think about it. It's really lonely when people have you on a pedestal, that makes you unapproachable, and you're really just a human. You're just a human that's making art, that's doing something that you love and or don't love. Not every actress loves to act. Isn't that crazy? Just like any other job, right? Just like any other thing that we can do. Not everybody loves what it is that they're doing. And then there are others that can love anything that they do because they love themselves so much, right? And that kind of person, if you think about it, can make art out of the way they sweep a floor, right? You can sweep it and perfect lines, and that can be beautiful. You can sweep in circles because your broom has become your dance partner and you are twirling around on the floor because you're just filled with so much joy and happiness, and the music is within you, right? Because joy has a sound and it moves you in that way. And I think that that's something that's really beautiful about art. Which brings us back beautifully to cinema. Because cinema moves almost the entire nervous system at once, if you think about it, right? Light, sound, rhythm, time, emotion, memory, empathy. It's one of like the most complete perception engines that humans have ever invented. Which kind of explained a little bit, right? Why storytelling on screen has become one of the primary mirrors that we use culturally to express ourselves, right? It's entertainment, but it's also this mirror that moves. Sometimes, right, when the conditions are just right, it becomes something else entirely. It becomes something specific for you, something that moves you because it brings up something, specific for you. Like I remember when my wife died, when my first wife died, it was shortly before. There's a movie that's called P.S. I Love You, and I remember just first of all, like, has anybody ever seen that film? Have you ever seen P.S. I Love You? I wish I could remember. I know it's try to share just a tad bit without doing any kind of a spoiler alert on it, but I believe, if I am correct, that this a husband leaves letters for a wife throughout different places, and he's written them at different times, and she goes on this journey of discovering people and places and just these P.S. I love you notes or letters. And I remember it was maybe even a year or so after, but oh my God, I remember just bawling and just crying. And I had not done that. And I had so much that was still left to move that I had not actually moved through in my grief. But it was this amazing experience, because even though it was my grief that I was moving through, it was also the grief of the film. And there's like this really amazing thing that happens with film. I don't know, maybe it's just me, I don't know, you'll have to tell me, right? But I think that sometimes it's kind of like you just become a character in the film. And it was definitely like that for me. So even though I was moving my grief through from something completely different that had happened, I was being able to do it through the lens of the film and the character, and it made it so much, um, easier in some way. And like I said, maybe I've never even shared that with anybody, because I don't know if everybody does that or not, but that's most certainly the experience that I had. And I think when we do that, it can shift, right? Art just shifts something in you. And it's not because you can understand it. It's not because there's instruction to it or any of those things, but there is motion. There's motion in it, and it somehow moves something in me. So I see Leah says you have not. I think that I recommend it. And this has been 16 years ago. And I've never watched it again, but I do think that I recommend it. Sharon says great book and movie, so I'm going to go with yes. And Benjamin says, I watched P.S. I Love You with my mom back in 2007. And I'm sorry about the loss of your first wife. It's amazing how much that art can parallel real life. Yes, thank you. Thank you. And I love that you watched that with your mom. In 2007, wow. It was such a lifetime ago. And I didn't realize that it had even been out that long, because it was probably 2012-ish or so when I saw it. So I didn't even know it had been out, that long. Oh gosh, I could tell so many stories about movies and different experiences that I've had. I think that I think it's because it's large, right? It's bigger than life, and it's all of it's all of you, right? Especially when it's something that's made and there are times that you like see a movie or you see a scene and you're just like, even if you're not religious or spiritual or anything of that nature, I think that you still experience in a film those moments where everything was just like everything lined up so perfectly. There are these films that you walk out of and you're like, wow, everybody that was in that film, everybody that had a part of that film had to really love the project. They really brought themselves to it. They were born for that role, right? Like, have you ever left a film saying that or feeling that way? That just, it was so well done, so filled with presence. And I think presence is probably the real difference. I think in something that was made creatively and in something that was creatively made actually being art. What do you guys think? Right? Is there a difference in something being made creatively? And does that mean that it's art? Just because something's made creatively doesn't mean that it's art. Sharon says movies have definitely helped me move my emotions. There are many times I felt I became and was the character. Yay! Thank you for saying that too. Thank you, Leah, for your condolences, and thank you for being here to hear. I really do. It is important to me that I share myself, right, in my life, as an open book, because I think when we do that, what I know is, like, anytime I hear somebody else sharing their own story, I'm able to be like, oh my gosh, me too. Wow, me too. And if I can have that moment listening to somebody, then I know that I can offer that to somebody else. And I think that that's a gift that we do have, that we can give to each other, something that means something. There's nothing quite like that moment that you realize in life, with whatever it may be, that you're not the only one. Maybe you're not the only one that thinks the way that you think. You're not the only one that, you know, doesn't like the way fresh grass smells, right? Everybody says, I love the smell of fresh cut grass. I never understood that when I was little, because to me it filled me with sadness and grief. It filled me with fear, the smell of fresh cut grass. So I never understood that. And years later, probably maybe about 10 years ago, I understood why. And that's actually because the grass is literally what we smell is literally a warning, right? It is a toxin that the grass is releasing, because it is literally under attack, and it is sending a message out, just like we would scream our, right? And so, but that was why, and for whatever reason, knew that, or I didn't know that, but I had a sense. I had a sense of that, and it was something that I never understood. And then I read that, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And then I've said that a couple of times, throughout, and people are like, oh my god, I had that experience too. Like, that is such a gift that we can give, and that moves, right? So maybe that's art. Maybe that's a part of art. If art's a part of movement, right? When it's something that moves you fully, because that's art. All right, let's get back. We've got just a little bit of time left. So all of that from this little thread, right, that we just said with some curiosity, what is that? And pulled on this thread. I know what it was. I'm sorry, I forgot what I was going to say, but what if art isn't art until it moves something in someone else? Or is it art simply because it moved you, the maker? Right? What is art? And what is creativity? Sometimes I like to give answers a lot. And I think that's pretty natural for our brains to want to have things like figuratively stamped out. This is the answer. And I'm practicing just kind of leaving that open. Sharon, you said, Leah said, beautiful insights. Thank you. Thank you. And Sharon says, I'm not the only one who thinks the way I do, and that I can be seen completely, flaws and all, and be appreciated for all that I am and all that I bring into the world. And that is because you are a piece of art, my friend. You are a piece of art. So, yeah, story and art and meaning, what words mean, right? We have things that move. We have things that move, but only once. We've taken 25 clicks in a second worth of time, right? There's just such strange, beautiful, peculiar possibility. I think in the most powerful stories are, of course, not just the ones that we watch, but the ones that move us, and they move through us, and then we move somebody else when we share about it. And I think that to me is what a thought couture is all about, is fullness of expression that is so filled with the creator's being, essence, intention, that it can't be unseen, that it can't be still. It has to move, and it moves something in you. Benjamin says, sometimes learning about an actor's personal life can tarnish the way that I watch a movie. I cannot watch a movie that features Tom Cruise without thinking about the tabloid stories that report on his alleged quote unquote weird behavior. I know that Daniel Day-Lewis is an extraordinary actor, but so many media reports about the process of his method acting affect my viewing experience of his movies. That is very interesting, right? And I think that at the same time, that for you is intentional, meaningful movie consumption, even though I hate that word but it's the word that's coming to mind. Metabolizing, right? So like when we look at art, when we experience art, when we watch cinema and film, it is this metabolization of culture, of life, of our thoughts and our beliefs and what we feel, and all those things can come into play. So I think, like, always listen to your body, right? If something changes in you because of something that you know about an actor and you then don't watch, I think that that's responsible for you as the one that's going to be affected or not affected, right? To be aware of those things and to do that or not do it. And then there are stories, of course, that you can't know if they're true or not. But I think that in those moments, we do what we feel is best for us. We do what we feel like we can relate to, or what we're being told inside of our own bodies, right? And we listen to that because the body always knows, right? Our body knows. And I think there's also this thing with too, and because I always take things like to the self, if it's in your body, It's in your body for a reason. And I always like to also just kind of sit with those things, no matter what it is that you've heard. Why does it bother you? What is it in you that's moving? Um, I always say to do that with compassion and curiosity, because I think that compassion is the language of the universe. I think compassion holds joy, and it holds love, and it holds empathy, while it is also holding shame and holding guilt and holding apathy and holding fear. I think compassion holds all of it at once. And that's why I think it is the language of the universe. In my personal self, is the only emotion that I have discovered that within my body allows me to hold all of those things. So compassion, of course, goes a very long way. And so does listening to our own navigation system of what is safe or unsafe for us, right? So thank you guys for being here on this wonderful Friday. It is 5:55. I forget what 5 means, but I know it means something, because we give meaning to so many things. So thank you guys for being here, listening to stories, sharing your own stories, because to me, this is what it's all about, is being able to share these little micro moments. And sometimes they turn macro, right? And that's something that shifts something within each of us, I believe. And I'm excited to be doing that, sharing about that. And so, one last time before I close this out, I am going to, first of all, Benjamin, I see in the comment that you said metabolization is a good term for the way we process movies. And yes, so like there's a lot of history there with that, metabolizing, in ancient Greece, right? Theater, there's a lot about theater that you can look in, but it is how culturally and in large numbers that we kind of come together and that we just understand ourselves. It's how we can come together and have a wicked sense of humor and laugh at something and know that we're not like terrible people because other people are laughing about it too, and like all those kinds of different things. And also, when we're like eating like actual popcorn, we're actually eating, and that actual eating is a physical movement of energy and emotion and thought and all of the things that you're experiencing in your body. Also, you may have heard, phrases like open mouth, insert foot, or I had to eat crow pie, right? Because you said something that for whatever reason you had to take back, or little things like that. But there's a cord that connects to your throat chakra, if you will, but it's your larynx, because this is an actual cord, and it is also in your gut, right? So we literally metabolize thoughts through words and what we're speaking. And it's the same reason that also say like, I swallowed my words, right? When we are sometimes talking about things that we didn't say, right? We swallowed our words. That's all literally because we are doing so. So that's a little tidbit of fascinating information there. And I'm going to remind you all of our new term. So instead of thought leadership, we're doing thought couture. Okay. Thought Couture is about sharing something that is been set with. It is a design. It's been threaded together very carefully. It's an original. It is not something that's copied. It's something that took some emotion, some thought, some experience. It is something that can alter perception. It's not something that's just thrown out to be thrown out like content. It's something that actually has been created to stop somebody else in their tracks with an aha moment of something that they understand they didn't before that thought came into their perception. So, thought, couture, or couture thoughts. Okay. Thank you all, and we'll see you back here next Thursday, same place, same time.
Gold in my jawline. Turn the engines up. About more. Step into the chamber where the neon never sleeps. Heartbeat, hammer like a code beneath the deep. I feel the gear grind rising in my core. Every little spark keeps whispering more. Polished steel shimmer on my skin when I breathe. Honeycomb shadows bending unfurl like wings. I'm a signal in the dark, a pulse you can't ignore. Say it with your body when you move more. Touch the switch, let the voltage climb. Light me up in ultraviolet time. Every limit that I had before. Break it open, burn it out, give me more. I want more, more, more. Turn the world up louder than before. More, more. I want fire through the floor. Lift me higher, hit the core. Give me more. I want more, more. I want more, more, more. Every breath a spark I can't ignore. More, more. When the city starts to roar, I step in, I begin screaming more. Gold smoke rising where the dreams collide. A million stories humming in the hive tonight. Every open door feels built for the reborn. Take the future in your hands, come on, more, more, more. Ceramic heat shimmer on this runway of light. Cyber silk sliding through the gears of the night. If you feel the pull, then lean into the storm. Let your whole damn life evolve toward more. Touch the switch, let the voltage climb. Light me up in ultraviolet time. Every ceiling that we touched before. Break it open, burn it out, give me more.